Hi everyone, Budget Stark here. Thanks again for tuning in. We're going to take a sneak peek at ACGHK 2017 in Hong Kong. I'm going to show you some behind the scenes footage. At all of these conventions, there are exclusives. Some of these are cool cosbaby range. You get 1:1 scale statues, and you have models with the 1:1 scale statues. Obviously, the big manufacturers like Hot Toys showing off their new figures, and models with those figures. There are also smaller manufacturers showing off, for example, some of their vehicles, and models showing off those vehicles. Then you get the Japanese anime and models that play with a tip of those figures. There are some cosplayers. You see here Kylo Ren. The only thing is, the only person playing with his tip is the photographer. Some of these manufacturers are bringing out ridiculously large figures. This is a meter high. Then there's Soap Studio bringing out something a little bit different, accessories and smaller than 1/6 scale. And you have BIGBOYSTOYS for Street Fighter fans. We also have Molecule 8 displaying their first ever figure, which is John Lennon from Imagine. Some figure manufacturers that are specialists in military style figures. And you have a ridiculously large Optimus Prime that stands over a meter tall. Also, you get a presenter who's wearing a tea cozy on his head, which looks a little bit like a condom. So for this video, I suggest you grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back and relax and enjoy this footage that I took. This is a behind the scenes because this was filmed before the exhibition was open to the general public, so most of the figures and displays that don't have that glass which has a lot of reflection on the camera. So we're going to start with Hot Toys display. At pretty much most of these exhibitions, Hot Toys have probably, I would say, one of the largest exhibit stands and floor space. San Diego Comic-Con was just 4 days before this ACGHK in Hong Kong. And in a recent interview by Howard Chan, the representative for Hot Toys, he said that when they flew over from San Diego, some of these prototypes had only one single version in the world. So they had to transport that from San Diego, bring it over to Hong Kong, set it up, and hopefully nothing was damaged in the process, and set this up. I know a number of collectors are super keen to check out this quarter scale Joker, which I actually will show right towards the end because I decided that having an artificial light source really helped check out the head sculpt in more detail. So for this part, I'm just going to gloss over and show you some of the accessories, the weapons, the various hands you get, some of the tailoring, so you get an idea of what you do have. But right at the end of the video is where the footage is with better light, so you can see the head sculpts clearer. One thing I will point out is that this Joker has 2 head sculpts if you picked up the exclusive version. The exclusive version has the second head sculpt on one side, which the Joker's left is partially painted, so you can see the Heath Ledger facial features a little bit clearer. Moving across is another quarter scale, it's the Batman figure from Batman Begins, and that again comes with 2 head sculpts. There's no exclusive version, so you definitely get both head sculpts. You get an unhelmeted head sculpt which has a wearable balaclava, so you can have him actually in 3 different looks. So you can have him completely naked without the balaclava, you can have him wearing the balaclava, or you can have him wearing the cowl. Here are the bunch of accessories that you get with this quarter scale figure, the different expressions for the mouthpieces you can have. Generally speaking, when you compare 1/6 scale figures to 1/4 scale figures, the detail is substantially more in a quarter scale, because obviously you've got more surface area to work with, so the manufacturers can put much more detail in terms of articulation is generally better, and a perfect example of that are the 1/6 scale Iron Man figures, which have been transformed into the quarter scale figures. Now we're going to check out the Justice League. Most collectors, I would say, have seen footage of this over at SDCC, but the thing that really shone out in this display was Superman's suit. it has this blue with a glittering, shimmering look underneath the outfit, which I thought really stood out in this display. Then we have the Batman figure, which actually there's two versions. There's the tactical suit, which looks much bulkier, I would say chunkier, and you know he means business when he's wearing that. Then moving over to Flash, and I'm not sure if his head sculpt has been tweaked a little bit, because it looks a little bit different to when he was shown at SDCC. His suit looks fantastic. It looks very detailed, and these are three accessories that you do get with those respective Justice League figures. And then there's Aquaman. Again, his suit stands out. I think it's a homage to the comic books, and here I can see a huge resemblance to Nenny D, who's a big collector in the community and has been for quite a few years. I think DC may well owe him some licensing rights and payments for using his likeness. Then moving across, we have Cyborg. Interesting character, and I can see that the detail on this is really intense. How the sculpt has been made in terms of the engineering of the suits that he's wearing. I'm sure there are going to be light up parts as well on both the arms, which people have seen from the trailer. And then we have Wonder Woman from Justice League, which actually looks quite similar to the Wonder Woman from the standalone Wonder Woman film. Just want to finish off this section of the video showing the back of Cyborg. The detail there is really intense. Now we're going to check out Kids Logic. This is one of the pieces that really stood out. It's over 1 meter high. It's essentially a speaker system that works off Bluetooth. Kids Logic have taken a slightly different stance to other figure manufacturers. They're making rather large functional items. So this essentially is a speaker system. So you have this linked up to maybe your television or your phone. You want to play some music, you can do. For those who are familiar with Kids Logic, they previously showed a cockpit that had 300 pieces made. And this is again another Japanese anime which maybe Asian collectors are more familiar with. It has light up LEDs all over the body. You can see the sculpting, the detailing, great paint app. And as I do a little walk around, you will see what I mean by this. The moulding here allows for the LEDs to really shine through, so you can really see the effects. The Kids Logic model that you saw at the beginning of this section, she's pretty tall. She's about 5'9" with heels on. And even she is towered over by this display. So this could be a centerpiece in your living room, and it has technology which is functional. So now we're going to look at Soap Studio. A number of collectors will be familiar with Soap Studio because they use the soap reactor to light up dioramas, Iron Man figures, etc. I use a lot of their products for my Iron Man display. Now they've gone a slightly different route. They're going with 1/12 scale figures, which some people would say it resembles Mezco type of figures. However, after seeing this in person, the quality, the paint app, and the sculpts are significantly different, and I would say superior than Mezco. Just on the tailoring alone on this Arrow figure and the Flash, you can see what I mean in terms of the detailing is definitely different to Mezco, and the price point I think is quite similar. Soap Studio also have released a number of smaller items which I would say have a much wider appeal to not just collectors but the general buyers out there, because I know my kids would love these particular items, and even females who are generally not as common collectors as males. For those in Hong Kong, they will be familiar with the cinema intro if you go and watch a movie in the cinema. She also designed these items, which you can see a caricature, young kid type of look. And I can see it's being very, very popular with teenagers and children also. Now we're going to go back to some Star Wars characters. We're going to check out some of this Star Wars line. And I've used an artificial light here because the spotlight in the auditorium wasn't sufficient to show off the head sculpt because it was rather dark. So you can see here Princess Leia in her outfit in the final battle scene on Endor, and Luke Skywalker also. The head sculpt is different to the previous Luke Skywalkers that have been released. And moving across, we have Anakin Skywalker. Again, good detail on the head sculpt, using sculpted hair. Now moving across, we have the Emperor on his throne, flanked by the Royal Guards. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so you can see the head sculpt of the Emperor that he has mostly covered in the film. I would expect the throne to be included when this figure is announced, as it is his most iconic look. Here is another figure which collectors have been talking about and longing for. It is Tarkin. I think that's a great head sculpt of Peter Cushing, and you've got to check out his wrinkly hands there. So great work by Hot Toys to get that level of detail. Now we're going to check out Iron Man Mark II diecast version. Never been seen before. They announced it for pre-order, and here it is on display. It's the prototype, which is not going to be released till Q4 of 2018. So there's a while until this is finally released. For those who have the plastic version, it will be an upgrade because I think the articulation is going to be improved. The proportions may be slightly different, and you can see from the chest section, it looks very similar to the parts of some of the Iron Man 3 figures that have a part of the top section of the chest which folds in slightly, which means he has some form of ab crunch and a little bit of an ab twist. This is a Loki, which I think is quite strange. When you see it in person, it's not as bright as it is shown here on the video. It actually looks quite a darkish type blue, but for whatever reason, when you take video footage or even photos, it appears much lighter than it does in real life. Here is M3 Studio ETHF. This is a 1 meter 10 centimeter tall Optimus Prime. Obviously it's a prototype, it's not painted. It is huge. It's very detailed, and you'll see that as I pan down to show you the rest of the figure. It has a few interesting features. There are light up sections, the eyes light up. The hand, or his right hand, is interchangeable, so he can hold the sword. And the two blades from both of his wrist gauntlet sections can change and swap out with different parts. For all of the different manufacturers, I'm going to put a link to their Facebook page and their website where you can get more information on all of the figures that they have, the prototypes, the products that they're looking for. So this video is just an introduction to some of those figures and the companies themselves. A lot of overseas collectors don't have the opportunity to see these prototypes live in hand, and this video is just a chance for you guys to get a glimpse of what I'm talking about, because websites and photos are great, but it will never beat actually seeing them in hand. Here is DID. They're a company that specializes in much smaller lines. Here is their military police line. I generally don't even give a second glance at military or police type of figures. Maybe it's because I don't have as much interest in them, but this manufacturer particularly caught my eye because the level of detail, the accessories that you get, the posability. I was actually a little bit taken back by the quality of these smaller figure manufacturers. So most of the community talks about Hot Toys, sideshow figures, but there are a number of slightly lesser known manufacturers, mainly based over in Asia, who have good eye for detail and can produce figures which is probably not so mainstream, but still have the level of detail. This is what I mean by the level of accessories and how in-depth the manufacturer has designed these parts. Even this little accessory has working buttons and knobs, and it's just something which you don't expect from smaller manufacturers, because the level of detail of this and the paint app I would say is actually pretty high standard. So these smaller figure manufacturers, check out their Facebook pages, their websites, maybe even check reviews of them on YouTube so you get an idea of exactly what options you have. Now, I know military collectors are much less mainstream, but for those who are keen on these figures, this, I would say, is pretty much a world exclusive because DID haven't shown these figures at any exhibitions anywhere else in the world. So this footage is for those collectors who enjoy military figures. Now, talking about world exclusives, Molecule 8 are showing their John Lennon figure. They have a very small stand here where they're showing the John Lennon figure. It's essentially one figure with 3 different outfits, 2 head sculpts, 2 sunglasses, a guitar, and a lot of collectors online were saying, this sounds a little bit fishy, is this a real company? Well, here is Molecule 8 showing off their figures. A few points I want to explain here. The people at Molecule 8 feel that this figure will be released around Q3 in 2017. The stands that you can see are not the official stands that they will release. It will actually be poleless. It'll stand by maybe a magnetic system onto their base, so you won't have a stand holding up the figure. I also have to point out and stress, this is not the final prototype version. Some of this, you will notice, for example, the head sculpt is not painted to the final specifications. On top of that, the tailoring is not 100% complete. Again, it's being refined, so the stickers that you see there are just placeholders. The final version will have sewn on patches. Something that should be noted, the body here is not plastic, it's not rubber, it's silicone. And that silicone wraps over a metal endoskeleton. That will be on the John Lennon figure. The 2 head sculpts you'll get is a neutral looking head sculpt and a singing type of head sculpt with his mouth open that you saw on the left hand figure at the beginning of this section. You get 2 different glasses. You get a pair of normal glasses and a pair of the orangey yellow type tint glasses. Also, you get the guitar. Along with this, you get a number of gesturing hands. So all in all, you get 1 figure, 3 outfits, so you can achieve various looks for John Lennon. Let's go back to Hot Toys figures, and we're going to be checking out Thor Ragnarok, the 3rd film from Thor series. The first figure we're going to have a very quick look at is Gladiator Thor with his deadly black and red Phillips head screwdriver themed mace. There's no doubt about it. The figure that stands out completely in this is Gladiator Hulk. The other sub-characters, head sculpts are great, tailoring really vibrant looking, but without a shadow of the doubt, Gladiator Hulk with his size, the armor that he's wearing, the detail, the brush that he has on his helmet, it's without a shadow of a doubt the display piece if you're going to pick up this line from Hot Toys. It's just such an aggressive look. You can see that his body actually has paint application on it as well. It's a different look for Hulk completely. Some collectors are thinking, is it going to be the same color Hulk as from the original, or is he going to be similar to the Age of Ultron? We don't know because this is still a prototype. It's not going to be released till Q2 of 2018. And we have also the road-worn Thor. This is an exclusive and expected to release in Hong Kong around Q4 2017. This is that colour-changing Loki that I mentioned earlier on in the video. I actually quite like the look of this, and the tailoring looks very crisp and very sharp. I've been informed that he actually wears this colour outfit for the majority of the film. Hot Toys have expanded their Cosbaby range I think is a great move by them because I can see a significantly wider audience picking up these items. Because look how cute Hulk is there. The Gladiator Hulk, there's a smaller version on him there, a bigger version, and Hot Toys are essentially getting your kids earlier on hooked on buying their products because they sell these keychains. Now we're going to check out Big Boys Toys. For those who know me a little bit in Hong Kong, I'm actually quite a big Street Fighter fan and have been for over 20 years. They're selling these bulky figures which are around 12 inches tall. They're quite caricature, Japanese anime look. The arms are articulated, the legs move, and they have this expression that I think is very fitting for these characters. They, at the moment, only have Ryu and Ken in various different colours. For those who are familiar with Big Boys Toys, they've been around a couple of years in Hong Kong. They're starting distribution over in the US, and they're essentially known for these dioramas that light up in the iconic Street Fighter moves, and it has sound as well. I don't think there's any other company that makes something remotely even similar. I think it's a great thing to have as a display setup on your desk. Something small that doesn't take up so much space. They sell these little accessories, so if you want a battle on one stage. They also have convention exclusives. For example, this Ryu, there's only 100 of these in the world in this particular colour. And then moving across the side, they've actually expanded the license to take up the Turtles. Again, it's articulated, it moves, its hands, its legs, so you can put him in a couple of different poses. They're looking to do the full Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, and Leonardo. They also have these little USB media drives for when a character loses. That's the pose that they have him in. Something a little bit different, not just looking at figures, but little accessories for collectors. They're pretty much filling out all the characters on the roster. We have Zangief here, also with E. Honda in his iconic 100 hand slap special move. And I think the one that drew me was this claw, or is known as Vega. Very stylistic sculpts and diorama here. So Evo 2017 just finished over in Las Vegas, and Tokido won it with Akuma. And this is one of my favourite moves from Street Fighter, which is the Raging Dragon. Lots of special effects, and even the name changes from Goki to Akuma. And the last thing I want to show you is their Violent Ken. This is a exhibition exclusive. I think there's only about 300 of these going to be in the world. So we're going to do this final section of this video, going back to Hot Toys as promised, using artificial light to bring out the colours and the head sculpts in particular more. This has been 10-year anniversary for Yuli and for JC Hung, the Korean team that design, sculpt and paint head sculpts. And I think this quarter-scale Joker is definitely going to be a firm favourite amongst collectors. You get a huge amount of accessories, the weapons, tailored hands. With the coat, you can have him in the iconic pose with the grenades in his jacket. I think collectors are going to have a lot of fun and spend a lot of time reposing him in different parts of your display, which means collectors won't really get bored of this Joker. Because of the different layers to his outfit, you can have him in so many different looks. And with the other Batman that you have in your collection, they won't be bored anymore and lonely in your display cabinets. I think what we've seen from Marvel in terms of Avengers having a huge line and a roster of characters, for example, Infinity War has 60 plus characters in that film, of which 32 are in one single scene. Now that is going to be an absolutely epic scene. I can definitely see DC doing something similar, because with their Batman films, there was only 2 or 3 main characters that you actually wanted to buy the figures from. And what they did was do different variations of that one figure. Whereas now, we look at the Justice League, we're going to get 6 different characters, of which there may be several versions. This one here is a prime example. The tactical suit from Batman is a completely different look to the other Batman that you can see in the background here. The goggles can come up to reveal his eyes, the faceplate can change, and you have the tactical suit on top of the muscular build that he has. Now, using the light here, you can see the face sculpt a little bit better and how the reflection of the armor that the Flash wears. So again, Hot Toys have done a great job here on the armor. Remember, these are prototypes, which means the final product that's released to the general public may look slightly different, and I would expect the final product to be different in a few ways to the prototypes seen at this exhibition in Hong Kong. When you put the light here, you can really see Nenny's outfit really shimmer and sparkle, and the head sculpt comes to life because of one thing: the eyes. It's not clear if Hot Toys paint the eyes or whether they use a decal, but whatever they do, whatever technology, whatever magic they do, the eyes come to life like no other figure manufacturer does. That's probably the head and shoulders above other figure manufacturers at the moment. That's pretty much all I wanted to show you guys for the sneak peek behind the scenes before the ACGHK 2017 opens to the general public. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and catch you all at the next video.